Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. It is episode 8 of the Dropkicks and Attractions podcast here on the Dropkicks and Attractions podcast network. I am, of course, your host with the most, the Prince of Pop Culture, the Nirvana of nostalgia. I finally came up with the nostalgia nickname, Xander Invictus. Joined on my close personal friend, co-host, and the anime analyst. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Anime analyst, Big Boct. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Xander. You doing okay, too?
Okay, half left, all right, somewhere around there.
That one.
Yeah, I know. Just like when my mom asks me, what am I up to, I always answer 5'10".
That joke annoys me so much for some reason.
I do, and I do it to her every single time. Love you, Mom.
I love your mom, too.
Yeah, my mom's awesome. My mom's a freaking saint. Just like Anchorman. Dorothy Mantooth is a saint.
Never seen Anchorman.
Anchorman's a fantastic movie. First one's fantastic. Second one's all right.
Gotcha.
We are on episode 8. We are on the go home. We're about a month out from King of the Ring 1993. We're also the go home show for WCW Saturday Night for Slamboree, which we will be covering next week. And so, once again, for those that are not familiar, may have not watched the WrestleMania episode yet, when we do pay-per-views get their own individual episode because they're usually more in-depth, more things happen, pay-per-views are longer, blah, blah, blah. Now, we will not be doing the top 5 Billboard, the top 5 movies next week, but we will still be doing Concession Stand, Tubi or NotTubi, all that stuff. It's just since it falls within the week, it makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so when it comes to the Concession Stand, still been working on that Canadian police drama King I found on Tubi. Not bad. I can kind of understand why it only had 2 seasons, even though most of the cast left between season 1 and season 2. So it's one of those, like, once again, we know that procedurals are my
your jam.
My jam, my comfort show. And it's just one of those where the main character is kind of three-dimensional, has multiple things about her, and then everybody else is like one thing.
Gotcha.
Maybe we'll have, like, they'll have emphasis on the episode, so we'll get a little bit more, but it's basically the same characteristic every episode. I'm like, you're wooden. But it's not a bad show, it's just, they could have had more. I'm at, like, episode 4 or 5 in on the first season, and I know one thing about each character.
Gotcha.
Movie-wise, I got to watch one of my favorites last night. When it comes to hokey movies, and if people know their hokey movies, know the original Samurai Cop is an absolute train wreck piece of trash, and I love every second of it.
I gotcha. I've got movies like that too.
One of those, there's a shootout out in front of a seafood restaurant. They don't use squibs. They use paintballs. You can tell it's paintballs very obviously. Even more so, we also got Robert Zadar, the great character actor who a lot of people know from, like, Maniac Cop series and that sort of thing. But the main character, in between reshoots, filming of the movie and reshoots, got his haircut. He had the long, Fabio, lustrous 80s hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got his haircut in between that and the reshoots. So you can tell where there's reshoots because he is wearing an obvious woman's wig to make sure he's got long hair again.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's not even hidden.
That sounds hilarious.
Yeah, it's like if I try to wear a blonde wig.
I gotcha.
Like, they went to Party City. YouTube, just catching up on, I got a backlog. I try to watch YouTube before I go to bed. One I do need to watch yet is, once again, massive Eric the Electric fan. His girlfriend's got a channel. They have a Together channel. And the one I need to watch yet is from their Together channel, where they eat some of the most, the most unhealthiest appetizers in restaurants.
Oh, sounds fun.
Yeah, so once again, he's a blast, she's a blast. Video games, not really. I'm playing a lot of still Hearthstone. Recently, I had it on Steam for a while. I've started it up again. And Dungeons and Dragons has one of those idle games.
Mm-hmm.
Where you like the actual characters from D&D games, or like D&D lore. Like famous TT, like RPG shows, like some of their characters be on there. Like, for those that know, Dungeons and Dragon, Minx and Boo are a character you can use.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so, and it's like, it's one of those, it's like an idle player, that sort of thing. I'm reading. I picked this up at Cinema Wasteland. It was a book called Nightmares and Screams. It's basically the film history of Wes Craven.
Oh, cool.
And now I went from that. Like, I only read at work. The only time I have time to read is at work on my break.
Mm-hmm.
I have a book I got from a local store. It's basically serial murderers and their victims. It's an actual like textbook about like I find the whole psychology and the psychological aspect that's fascinating. So that's what I'm reading on my work breaks.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. So what are you consuming, sir?
Anime-wise, I'm about to start Laid Back Camp again. It's just cute girls going camping.
Okay.
YouTube, I'm watching pretty much the same stuff I always do. I mentioned last week I'm going through Linkara's Atop the Fourth Wall, closing in on the end of his 2013 run.
Okay.
Video game-wise, I believe I'm at the last boss in Metroid Dread. If I'm not, I'm very close to it. And then, oh yeah, I've also been watching Jeopardy Masters on Hulu. Really fun.
Oh, okay.
It's a 20 game tournament, 2 games per episode, 10 episodes. It's concluded. I know who won at the end, but it's still a lot of fun to play along.
I've actually thought about going on Jeopardy before. I've been wanting to do it since like the teen tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I've looked into it, and honestly, it's about a normal Jeopardy episode. The people that you see like on the normal episodes,
Mm-hmm.
it's about a 3-year process.
That long? I didn't realize.
Yeah, like I looked into it. Like I've thought about it. Like when I consider Jeopardy smart, I know a little bit about a lot of stuff. Like why would I know this? Type like that's just how I learn and consume.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked into this, and for this to happen, you have to take an online test, and it's not like something they do all the time. You have to find out when the next online test is. This is not like a consistent thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you score enough on the online test, you go to a written test somewhere in some city somewhere.
Okay.
You talk with some people to make sure you're not crazy, and if you're TV ready, that kind of person.
Yeah.
And then if you pass all that, they put you on a waiting list for a year and a half, and those are the ones they fly you out to California. You visit the set, you play a couple quick practice games, you get more talks to make sure everything's still kosher. Then they put you on a second waiting list for a year and a half, and then if they call your name, you get picked to be on TV.
Oh gosh, I had no idea it was that complicated.
Yeah, it's about for Jeopardy. It's about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, yeah, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, then to close out what I'm playing, I'm also on FTL Faster Than Light, which is an absolutely fantastic roguelike.
Yeah, you've been playing that game for years.
Yeah, about 3 years ago now, I actually won my first run, and then I ignored it completely till about a month ago because that's how my autistic hyperfocus works.
Absolutely. Shall we get into Tubi or not Tubi, sir?
Sounds like fun.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for those that are not aware, Tubi or not Tubi is our segment of the concession stand where we spin a random wheel, we watch a random movie on Tubi and discuss it. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes you get a French sex movie. And I'm going to call it that for the rest of my life. This was an interesting one because last week we got 2 family movies. This week we got a movie that was in the opposite person's wheelhouse.
Right.
And would you like to go over the movie that you chose, sir? That I've actually seen this more than once, and I rather enjoyed this movie, but I'd like to hear your comments.
Yeah, the movie you spun for me was Dead Presidents. It's about a black teenager who decides he's going to join the military going into the Vietnam War. About the first half of the movie is that and what he does there. And then the second half is how he deals with coming home. As you said, that second half is mostly a heist movie, and it was a really good one.
Yeah, well, I'm a huge fan of heist movies in general, so.
Suffice to say, things don't quite go to plan. I won't spoil any further. But there was one thing right at the end that really bothered me.
What, the Martin Sheen in the cameo as the judge?
You're exactly right.
Oh, I was just joking, but I was like, yeah, Martin Sheen had a cameo out of nowhere. I'm like, hi, Martin Sheen.
So yeah, I had to Google who that was. I recognized the voice. Yeah, he also voices the Elusive Man in the Mass Effect series.
Yeah, like Martin Sheen's part of the whole Charlie Sheen Estevez, the Sheen Estevez. He's the the patriarch of the whole Sheen Estevez.
Oh right, we've talked about that before. I had forgotten.
Yeah, well, it's just like I've seen him in so much stuff. Once again, he was like the president in the West Wing TV show. But I remember the first time I watched it, like he's not in the credits or anything, and it's just like, oh. Like, when you see Kevin Spacey... Well, I can go ahead and spoil this because it's been many, many years. When you see Kevin Spacey for the first time in Seven, you're like, oh, hi, Kevin Spacey.
Oh, neat. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah. But, yeah, that's just like, oh, Or like the Bill Murray cameo in Zombieland. You're like, it's nice to have one where you don't know they're coming in.
Yeah, I have seen Zombieland, actually. That was a fun movie.
Yeah, I like the second one too.
Haven't seen the second one. The movie was shot well, it was directed well, it was acted well. I would rate it, it wasn't in my wheelhouse like you said, but I'd rate it 3.5 stars.
That's fair.
Alrighty, so how about you, Xander? What did you roll?
I watched an anime, and it's only it was a single movie called Project Ako. I thought it was AKO, but they pronounce them Ako, Biko, whatever in this show, so I'm going with that. Part 3. And it's subtitled Cinderella Rhapsody.
Okay.
And like once again, and it's from '88, so I guess just off my basis, it had a very that late '80s anime style. Like I got Sailor Moon vibes out of it just because of the way they were drawn and everything.
I gotcha.
And it's basically a slice of life. It felt like a slice of life until like the last 10 minutes. Because once again, this is part 3 out of a quadrilogy. So going into a blind, it's like, spring break. You got the main character and her goofy little sidekick. They're all her and her rival, who's like the rich girl. And we find out, at least in this episode, they're 16, at least in this part. So it's very high school. Spring break. The one girl wants to go to the main character wants to go to a fancy party. She one of those where she kind of forgets her friend.
Okay.
Where it's like, I lost my friend, but we're buddies by the end. There's a mysterious gentleman that everybody falls for. There's a whole scene where there's a funny scene where she gets a job just so she can pay for this dress for this party. And they have this party at this massive airship for it was like a hotel or a concert hall or something. Once again, slice of life. It was enjoyable. Like there was parts I snickered at. It was goofy, enjoyable. Not a lot happened, but it was quick enough. 45 minutes. Everything kept well paced. And then at the end, you're like, okay, we have the main character now has special powers and she's throwing energy blasts. And I'm like, hi, pardon, excuse me? And then and everybody's on high alert in the city. Everybody all of a sudden gets armor and there's a Voltron type mechs coming together like Voltron. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like you go from a slice of life to friggin' Pacific Rim like instantly.
Yeah.
If you're watching that without context, it blows your mind.
Right, yeah. OVAs be like that sometimes. Like, they were very common in Japan in the 80s and the 90s. Direct-to-video, 2 episodes, stuff like that.
Yeah, and so this is what I did, is I had to Google ahead of time. Because I know at least 1, 3, and 4 are on Tubi. I'm sure 2's in there somewhere. But basically, I had to find this out. Because I needed context. Why did we go from a slice of life to friggin', Gundams and mechs and Voltron and shit?
Right.
Come to find out, the main character is from a different planet, and it all throughout the quadrilogy involves alien invasions and robots and people from other planets and all this other stuff. But she's also a high school student at the same time.
Sounds weird.
The thing is, though, even other than that one part, I was able to, it didn't. You weren't not reward. I'm blanking on a word here. Help me out here.
It made sense. It was consistent.
No, it made sense. But it didn't. Excuse me, punish. I forgot the word punish.
Oh gosh.
It didn't punish you for coming in at part 3. Like up until, it felt self-contained up until that last end where you're like, what the fuck's going on?
Gotcha.
But here's the thing, I enjoyed it. I might honestly, because I want to see the 2 before and the 1, at the end.
You want to see the whole story now.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was enjoyable. There was parts where it was cute. I'm like, okay, they're trying to do this stuff. And it's like, okay. I would like to have the out of context part make sense now where it's, she has, she turned into a fucking airbender for some reason.
And this is why it happened.
Yeah. But yeah, I would watch, let's put it this way. I'll seek out the other 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'd give it a 3.5, mainly because of the out of context part for not, but you weren't punished for not knowing the other 2 parts. So you could watch, you knew instantly, here's the main character, here's her sidekick, here's the quote unquote villain, which she wasn't a villain. She was just kind of like a mean girl.
Mm-hmm.
And they're on spring break. There's a cute guy.
Yeah. Would you recommend it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I would recommend Dead Presidents as well.
Yeah, so we're basically 3 for 3 on all the recommended movies. Well, I'd like 3 of them. I wouldn't recommend the first one because,
It's a lot.
yeah, I'd recommend this. Like I said, for somebody that's new to anime, relatively new to anime, it's an easy consumption.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'd give it a 3.5. I would have been a 4 if it wasn't for the out of context part, and I can't really punish it for that. So I might rewatch it in order and see if I can bump it up to a 4.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so once again, we've yet to, knock on wood, find a movie we haven't liked yet.
And that feels good.
Yeah, like we'll put like I said again, I already have my letterbox in, and I got to put the last 2 movies in on there. We're gonna get you to get letterbox finally. Hint, hint.
I know. I'll get there.
So let's go ahead and spin for next week. Like we'll talk about this before Slamboree. Are you ready, sir?
I'm ready. Give me sword and sorcery.
You're still trying for a sword and sorcery. Let's hope.
Yep.
I hope you get the French sex movie. Oh, great! Tyler Perry movies are on here. This is fantastic.
He's the Medea character, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know of them. I've never seen any of them.
Oh my God, son!
What's up?
You got sword and sorcery.
Woo!
I swear to you, I'll like you got sword and sorcery.
Awesome.
The number? What number are you looking for? Let me while I bring up the page.
4 always wins.
Sword and sorcery. Oh, there's some good. Ooh. Oh, there's some good. Oh, there's okay. There's some stuff. Not a lot of like high end stuff, but you never know.
Never know. That's what the point of the show is.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and spin. You're going for number 4. Find the wheel. There's the wheel. Not going to be 4.
Okay.
28.
Alrighty.
So 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Okay.
Alrighty. What have you got for me?
Called Mythica the Godslayer. Starring one of the characters is played by none other than Critical Role's Matthew Mercer.
Oh, really? That's cool.
I know of the Mythica series. This is a series of movies.
Mm-hmm.
So where you're going in on, I don't know how much you need to know ahead of time to watch it, but like I did this week, you're basically going in on not part 1.
Gotcha.
But this does sound fun. It's from 2016. A cursed sorceress leads a quest for a weapon of the gods. But when her sworn enemy joins her, she must find good within or the world will be enslaved.
Ooh, sounds fun.
Yeah. So, yep, Mythica the Godslayer is your movie. So, we'll do mine. Once again, I'm pretty much open to anything as long as it's that kissy kiss face stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I almost got documentaries, but I got drama.
Alrighty.
Oh, it was one of those ding, 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 ding. Dink.
Right, like the wheel on The Price is Right.
I get the 26th drama. No, excuse me, 27th drama. So we'll go over to dramas. And 27, so 3, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. 25, 20. Oh, God, yes.
Alrighty, what'd you roll for yourself?
You know how it's sometimes when you roll and everything comes into play and you watch a movie that you know not only is a absolute classic, you know you're going to love it because you've seen it before?
I gotcha.
I got The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Ooh.
Yes, that movie from 1966, starring Clint Eastwood, he's playing the man with no name.
I know of the movie, never seen it.
Oh, I love westerns. This is from '66. This is a spaghetti western. For those that don't know, spaghetti westerns were westerns that were made in Italy.
Yeah, we've talked about that, I think.
I don't think we have on this show, but spaghetti western, they use like a lot of the cast, some of the cast, but a lot of the crew. It's actually filmed in Italy. They're called spaghetti westerns because they're basically Italian made.
Gotcha.
There was The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars, and for a few dollars more as part of the Man with No Name trilogy because he plays the same guy.
Oh, cool.
But for those that have never seen this, the premise is, and we're going by the Tubi synopsis, Clint Eastwood portrays the invincible man with no name in a lethal pursuit of $200,000 in Confederate money. Lee Van Cleef and Eli Wallach also starred in this renowned Western.
Gotcha.
This is considered one of his greatest movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a 3-hour movie, too.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, your boy gets a Clint Eastwood Western. The wheels finally worked for me, like, completely 100%.
It clicked into place.
Click, click, boom, just like the song.
Haha.
So you get Mythica, the one Mythica movie.
Mythic of the Godslayer.
Mythica the Godslayer. Let me double check, make sure that's what it is. Yep, Mythica the Godslayer, and I get the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think I'll be okay with that.
Alrighty.
I think I'm going to go on a limb and say I'm going to enjoy the fuck out of that movie.
Well, you said you've seen it before, so you would know.
Oh yeah, I grew up watching John Wayne and Clint Eastwood Westerns. I mean...
Gotcha.
So, now that we got that fun, let us hop into the wrestling. We're going to start with Monday Night Raw, May 17th, 1993. We are, once again, about a month out from King of the Ring 93. And we go right into the entrance video, like the intro video, instantly. No cold open. And we get Bobby, Vince and Randy in the ringside. And there's always a great moment. And, of course, WWE is always FEWWF back in the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
They have their bad things, but one thing they've always supported was Special Olympics.
Yeah, there was a bit there that they showed, and it was a good bit.
Yeah, basically what it was Randy, I almost said Randy Orton, Randy Savage and the Smoking Guns, they were at an event where they were showing one of the Olympians doing powerlifting. It looked like they lifted more than you can, actually.
Oh, I'm not surprised. I don't work out like they do.
Yeah. But yeah, it was cool things. Once again, they to this day they still support Special Olympics, especially during like big events where there'll be they're there for a while. They'll do great stuff. So this is always nice to see.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, and they go back to footage last week from the beginning of the show last week where HBK and Mr. Perfect are fighting all over Howard Finkel's car. And Lord Alfred Hayes is out there and he says someone is here and they're in disguise.
I was wondering throughout the whole show who this person was going to be. And when they revealed themselves, I actually recognized the name.
Yeah, so we'll get there. Don't spoil it yet.
I won't.
So we get into our first match of the night. The Smoking Guns, who are making their Monday Night Raw debut. They've already debuted on Mania and some of the other weekend shows. But this is their official WWF Monday Night Raw debut against Glenn Ruth and Tony Vaja, I believe they pronounced it.
Vaha.
Yeah, so the Smoking Guns come out in their dusters and their cowboy hats and their pew-pew guns. With their cap guns that caused Howard Finkel to dive out of the ring.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And we spoke about it in the past before. He's done some enhancement tiles, but right now, with Glenn Ruth, he becomes the future Thrasher of the Headbangers.
Oh, cool.
Tag team during the Attitude Era.
Gotcha.
Both I noticed that both Bart and Daddy Ass himself, back in 93, had some hops.
Yeah, they were elevating really well.
Mm-hmm. Very athletic, very quick team. You can tell that these guys had good chemistry at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what the match was just, we're debuting the Smoking Guns. We've had the vignettes for a few weeks, and this was just their big live debut. So, you weren't expecting much of anything from the other team.
Yeah, Heenan was trash-talking everybody during this match, and that was fun.
Oh, yeah, once again, Bobby Heenan does what Bobby Heenan does best, which is everything. So we get a quick match, and it ends real quick when they do a back body drop into a pile driver for the win.
That spot was awesome, and a great way to end 3 minutes and 43 seconds of an enhancement match.
Yeah, and this would not end up becoming what it would be considered their known quote unquote finisher, what they would their named finisher. But it's this is very well, like you could tell that they you had to sync up quickly on that move or something could happen.
Mm-hmm.
A good timing on that.
Yeah, very good timing.
So we get Vince is now in the ring. He's going to interview HBK, who talks about his victory over Hacksaw. And he's basically said, hey, anything you've asked me to do to be IC champ, I've done it. I've gone across the world, done it. Basically, I beat everybody you put up against me, and he will defend it anytime, anywhere, against anyone. And as you say this, out comes the disguised man, who we find out is...
Marty Jannetty.
Yes, who we actually have not seen since the Royal Rumble. After he had lost to Shawn for the title at the Royal Rumble. And he basically, it comes out, it was a decent size, especially for a crowd that small, because once again, I have been to the ballroom here at the Manhattan Center. It's not very big.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for a Ring of Honor show, so it's not the hugest. You still very loud reaction from Marty Jannetty.
Yeah, I could tell how loud that was, especially compared to other pops I've heard there.
Yeah, it's been about 3.5, 4 months since we've seen him.
Mm-hmm.
HBK's like, oh no, I don't know about the. Vince is like, yo, you said anybody, you said anywhere. How about tonight? He's like, don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say that.
So yeah, he's backpedaling so hard he's going back in time.
Yeah, and Vince basically convinces him. He's like, yeah, why don't you put the title up against Marty tonight? So we have our main event for Raw tonight.
And I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, so we go into probably one of the first major famous part of Monday Night Raw is we get Razor Ramon versus the Kid, who we've already seen as the Kamikaze Kid. We've seen him as the Cannonball Kid. He's called the Kid here, even though his trunks say the Lightning Kid.
Right.
Going up against Razor Ramon, once again, massive fan since I was a kid. No pun intended.
Yeah, this is another power versus speed match. Razor's got power, Kid's got speed.
Yeah, and like that first chop, even I flinched. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, I noticed how there were a lot of good chops in this.
Yeah, and then it was basically just Razor Ramon's greatest hits, the abdominal stretch, fall away slam. But, you know, he's going in for the charge. Kid counters it, hits a moonsault, and pins Razor Ramon for the upset.
Yeah, that was 2 minutes and 12 seconds. And for that length, this was really fun.
Yeah, and then we get this absolutely massive upset that, once again, I don't think, you know, Razor Ramon had lost to maybe next to nobody since I think the only match I can think of televised was when he lost to Bret Hart at Royal Rumble. So the fact that you lose against an enhancement talent.
What?
Yeah, like, Razor Ramon's absolutely livid.
Yes, yeah, and Heenan's healing all over the place with how he didn't lose.
Yeah, this was great. This is that one of the first big moment everybody talks about. And, you know, once again, this is where we're debuting who's going to be known as the 1-2-3 Kid. You know, Sean Walkman, X-Pac, Six, so many different names throughout his career.
Mm-hmm.
This is his real honest to God debut.
Gotcha.
And this was actually fun. Like I said, even with hindsight, you saw they're bringing the Kid in. So remember when I said when everything in hindsight?
Yeah, you could see where they were building up to this spot.
They brought in the Kid a couple times to get his face fresh with everybody. They talked about how Razor was bullying everybody these last few weeks. Now, in hindsight, you saw where it all clicked into place.
Yeah, now it's clicked.
And now once you look back at all the foreshadowing, it's awesome, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. We get the next match, Tatanka versus Scott Taylor, that features Scotty 2 Hotty.
Mm-hmm.
And Bobby is still livid.
They're talking about this through a lot of this match.
Yeah. At one point, the ref almost got wiped out at one point.
There was also a nice spot where Taylor got back body dropped over the ropes and out to the floor. That's a spot that's really easy to screw up, I would think.
Oh, yeah. It just shows you how good Tatanka was. And obviously, Taylor had some talent. If, you know, at one point, like I said, he's still wrestling to this day.
Gotcha.
And is actually in better shape now than he was then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and we get a nice power slam from Tatanka, and as soon as he lands the power slam, you actually see him break the fourth wall, which doesn't happen very often. Goes to the camera and calls out Bam Bam Bigelow.
Oh, yeah, that didn't strike me as weird for some reason, but now that you've said it was a fourth wall break, now I see it.
Yeah, like he was calling out Bam Bam. He's ready to throw down with the Bamster.
Ooh.
Which, that'll be exciting to see. But basically, yeah, we get a quick flurry and end of the trail for the win.
Yep. 3 minutes and 33 seconds. Solid match.
Yeah. And obviously, looks like we're working towards Tatanka versus Bam Bam, and once again, not a problem with that.
No, I'm looking forward to that feud.
Yeah, and so speaking of feuds, we go to Mean Gene with the King of the Ring report. They've announced two first-round matches. As in, like, for the first round for the term, we have already had the qualifying matches, but these are the ones that they're going to show on the pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
We are getting Brett versus Razor, which will be a fun match.
Absolutely.
And Hacksaw versus Bam Bam.
Yeah, that's also going to be good.
Yeah. And we have a couple more qualifying matches left. So on Superstars, we're going to get Crush versus Shawn Michaels.
And then on Wrestling Challenge, we got Mr. Hughes versus Kamala.
Which, those are some beefy men who are going to be swinging.
Oh, yeah.
And then speaking of Kamala, he's up next here. He's going up against, speaking of meaty men,
Yokozuna.
Yokozuna with Mr. Fuji, and you basically at the beginning of this was just two big meaty men doing some sumo, and Kamala actually coming out on top on that.
Yeah, that surprised me. Like Kamala's huge, but he's not Yokozuna huge.
That he doesn't have the sumo build. Like if you've ever looked into actual sumo wrestling, like I don't follow it or anything. Like I know like Akibono when he wrestled, and Earthquake trained as a sumo before a pro wrestler, which that'll come into play here eventually.
Right.
I don't follow sumo other than that, or like E Honda. Like my sumo knowledge comes from E Honda, basically. You know, any kind of video game that had a sumo wrestler. I think Virtua Fighter had a sumo wrestler too.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But you can't just be like sumo wrestling is not just fat.
Right. You need muscle too.
Some muscle. There's a little agility with it because without going into too specifics, like I don't know the actual strategies and nuances with sumo wrestling, but there's a big circle, and the idea is to either knock your opponent down or to knock them out of the circle.
Right.
Which is where you kind of saw like the palm strike, especially with E Honda, they kind of like bop 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 to get them like out of the ring, and that's basically what it is. And these guys are all 300-400 pounds, and then they train like. And if you watch the amount of food that these guys actually eat, like they eat a lot of food to be that size.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those. It's interesting. It's not something I seek out often, or it's not something I follow, but it's just interesting to me.
Gotcha. Yeah, like if you came across it on TV, you wouldn't change the channel.
I'd watch it for a couple minutes out of curiosity. I'm like, oh, okay, they sumo wrestled, and like to me, because I don't follow it, like all sumo wrestling looks the same to me. Like I don't know who this guy is versus this guy, and oh, he's using this strategy, blah, like cricket. I don't know what the fuck cricket is.
Okay, I gotcha.
I don't know cricket. Do you know cricket?
I don't.
Yeah, or like curling. I watch curling, or like I'm actually surprisingly a fan of tennis.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. And then rugby. I got into rugby a little bit in college, actually.
Cool.
So I do like watching rugby. But basically, sports aside, so they do the sumo wrestling. Kamala actually gets the exchange, but then he gets dropped in one shot by Yoko.
Yeah, that looked nasty.
Just like one hit, he got down to his knees. And then Yoko hit that leg drop, but Kamala kicked out. He gets back into control for a little bit. Kamala does get some shots back in here for a little bit.
Yeah, he's bouncing off every rope and bouncing off Yoko, who is staggered.
And then Fuji comes up to cause a distraction.
Kamala eats a super kick, and that's the beginning of the end.
Yep, bonsai drop for the pin.
3 minutes, 41 seconds. This was a good match, too.
And I'm going to use one of your terms, surprisingly dense. At least I felt it was dense.
Agreed.
It told a good story that, especially we're going towards Yoko versus Hogan at King of the Ring. We're like, the fact that he took out somebody the size of Kamala and did not take that long to do it.
Yeah, he never fell down either.
No. The only time we've really ever seen him fall down was against Hacksaw, and I think, and then WrestleMania with Brett. So, we're still not counting the Hogan match, but, he's still considered a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get our main event of the evening. For the IC title, we do get Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. And you could tell, like, those exchanges back and forth. Marty hit that leapfrog and a sunset flip, which looked really nice. And you could tell that these guys know each other. The chemistry's there.
Yeah, this match is very fast for quite a while.
Yeah, you can tell these guys tagged together for years. They know each other. They know what the other can. It's one of those, I know what you're going to do before you do. So you can see this is where good chemistry comes into play.
Absolutely.
And once again, Marty Jannetty throwing a good Japanese arm drag, which I would like to see more often. You don't see those very often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Marty's in firm control for the good half of this. And Shawn tries to bail before he's stopped by the entrance.
Yeah, Mr. Perfect right there, like, lol, nope.
Nope, basically, get back in there. We go back to commercial. Marty's in control. He goes for that head scissor one too many times, and there was a nice counter where Shawn turned that into a stun gun.
Yeah, Shawn takes over at that point, beating down Marty for a while.
Yeah, and then Marty caught a drop kick into a slingshot, and then he hit a fake out crossbody where they kind of like jump at you and then wait for you to duck, pop back up, and then they hit you with a crossbody, which I always like that spot.
Yeah, that was a good spot.
Yeah, and then they start trading roll-ups before Shawn hits a super kick. And like I said, this game, even though Marty was in control, control-wise, like, it was very even, which was, like, skill-wise, this was a very even match.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, this match was absolutely fantastic. We can start getting towards the end where Shawn's talking trash with Mr. Perfect, who throws these talents, Shawn leading to a small package for Marty to pin, win, and become the new Intercontinental Champion.
Yep, that was 9 minutes on the nose. That match was very solid. And I believe, unless we missed one when we skipped to WrestleMania 9, this is Raw's first title change.
On Raw, yes. Title change, no, for the show, but for Raw, yes, this was the first title change. And honestly, this might be one of the best, up to this point, this might be the best match that's been on Raw yet.
I don't quite agree. There are some others that I've liked more, but this was absolutely the match of the night.
Oh, yeah, 100%. So we come back, Perfect, and everybody's celebrating with Marty for winning the title, and he says, Perfect, we'll be back next week to face Stoink again to qualify for King of the Ring. We'll see how that goes. This is what, third time?
Something like that.
Once again, this Raw was just historically wise, and then everything that happened, this A-.
Agreed, A-.
Because you had the IC title match, you had the match with Kid and Razor, just from the historical significance. Yeah, I thought they built towards King of the Ring. While this might be at one of the best episodes of Raw up to this point, at least for me.
Definitely.
So we're getting into WCW Saturday Night, May 22nd, 1993. And we open right away with our first match, British Bulldog versus Pat Rose.
Yep, and they get right down to business. The opening bell is very quick after we come in.
Oh, yeah, and then Sylvester Stallone's here, but not really because it's a taped interview. And by the way, if you're watching this on Peacock, and I noticed this, because I have stats pulled up of, like, match orders and segments and everything. If you're watching this on Peacock, any of the Slam Fest interviews, Slam Feast interviews, and even the interview with Sylvester Stallone, which I think that might have been like a licensing issue because of Demolition Man and everything. If it's not in the studio, we get no interviews to help promote Slamboree. We get none of them.
Yeah, that was really disappointing.
Because you know me, I'm an old school fan. I like watching the guys from back in the day talk. But it's just for some reason Peacock cut out all of it, and we also didn't get the Sylvester Stallone interview they kept promoting. So yeah, basically, if it wasn't in studio, you got none of it.
Yeah, really disappointing.
I also noticed that Jesse was like, oh, in about 20 years, I'll be considered a legend. You'll talk about me here on 20 years. And I'm like, you got less than 8. It's like 7.5 years before WCW's out of business.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jesse. You're going to have to wait until the WWF Hall of Fame.
Gotcha.
Which he does get into, actually.
Oh, he does? I didn't realize.
Jesse does get into it. He is a Hall of Famer. I mean, rightfully so. But basically, this was all Bulldog. Bulldog hit his delayed vertical suplex. He also got the running power slam for the win.
Yep. 3 minutes and 45 seconds. This was just kind of there. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was just, it just was.
You're not going to get much because you're promoting the British Bulldog the day before his big title match against Vader. This is what this was for. This was to showcase what Bulldog can do.
Yeah.
And then Tony's down there ringside with Bulldog, who's basically saying the public workout, because they were told that it's a public workout, because he tried to block it, WCW tried to block it, but Harley Race and his lawyers were basically saying, hey, it's a public workout, you can't stop us.
Right.
So they're letting it happen, and Bulldog's going to make sure it doesn't go through the way Vader says it's going to. He's going to prevent it, and he's going to win the title. We go into our next tag match. Like, this is kind of flowing kind of a little too fast forward because we don't get the interview segments in between.
Right. It was very brisk because of all the cuts.
Yeah. So we go into our one of the tag matches of the night. It's Dustin Rhodes and Kensuke Sasaki versus the Wrecking Crew. I'm not too familiar with Sasaki, with his work, because once again, I wasn't watching around like then, and I wasn't following Japanese wrestling like I do now. Like, obviously, with like how huge New Japan is in America.
Right.
So I don't know if this was considered like an excursion. Because for those that don't know, I'm going to go a little bit into how Japanese wrestling works. Like, they have their dojos. Where, like, if you're in I'll say New Japan, because right now New Japan's the biggest Japanese promotion in the world right now. The New Japan dojo is, you live there. You eat, sleep, breathe, shit, wrestling. And you do these shows. You train hours and hours and hours and hours a day. You do these shows, and if you watch these shows, like, you're always like the first couple matches, you black tights, black boots, nothing. You got the same basic moveset.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I talk about basics, like, the Japanese drill basics into you. That's all you do. And then once you graduate the dojo, you go off to different countries for an excursion to where it's like, I'm going to take my Japanese, what I learned here in Japan and go to Usually you'll see it like in Mexico, America, UK is a big hotspot right now where they'll go to different countries to learn how wrestling is in other countries, use that to help develop your character, and then they come back. Like there's some guys that have just started to come back from the most recent class in New Japan. So I don't know if this is just he's on loan from, well, I don't know, I'm not sure what promotion, or he's on an excursion, but he's a visitor basically.
Right.
I liked him.
So yeah, this match was, you start with a lot of solid basics and it continues like that for a while.
Yeah, and they are talking about next week. They're going to rule how we showed about the how the title match happened against Rick Rude, where they both their shoulders were down, but they popped up at the same time. So there's no definitive answer, but yet Rick still has the title. But they're going to get a ruling next week. So the the week after Slamboree, we're going to have a ruling on what that is. And there was a weird double down where they were going for a double down, but instead of just going head to head, the guy from the Wrecking Crew turned. So it was like the back of his head and Dustin's head collided. Like it looked really like he turned too early.
Yeah, that looked pretty painful.
Yeah, but you get a miss, and then nice power slam from Sasaki, who then launched in a nasty judo throw for the win.
Yep, 6 minutes and 17 seconds. Mostly basics, but there's nothing wrong with that.
No, we've established that once again, especially in Japan, like basics like work.
Yeah,
simple basic works. And we go into the last Slamboree Control Center because once again, Slamboree's the next day. Run down the card, nothing new. We're just promoting the show the day before. We already know all these matches that are going to happen. And then Tony's back from commercial with with our boy Colonel Parker, Colonel Robert Parker, trying to, he's still trying to find out who Van Hammer's opponent is for Slamboree. And then if you know wrestlers, you know their catchphrases and their nicknames. Parker did give it away.
I did not pick up on what it was.
I'll explain it next week.
Okay.
But Parker did give it away. Like, I already knew ahead of time because, once again, this is fucking 30 years ago. But Parker does give it away. There's one line where he says, he is the ruler of the world.
Okay.
Master and ruler of the world. And if you know what your catchphrases and nicknames, right there tells you who it is.
Gotcha.
I'm excited to see that. This is somebody who I've actually appreciated more it's another wrestler that I may not have liked as much as a kid or teenager, but I've grown to appreciate as I got older.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Van Hammer's in for a rough night next week.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
Anyway.
Yeah. So we go into our next match, Max Payne versus Larry Corey, and we get a pre-recorded segment from Johnny B. Bad about getting his Bad Blaster back from Max Payne, who took it a couple weeks ago, and about poor Mama B. Bad. Apparently, B. Bad is a family name, so Mama B. Bad's sad. And I'm just thinking, Jesse missed out. I was like, why couldn't you call her Mama B. Sad? If she's sad that the Bad Blaster's gone, why couldn't Mama B. Bad become Mama B. Sad?
Oh gosh, I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Don't worry, I did. But basically, Max Payne Twitter theme, right hand, suplex, painkiller, win.
Yeah, a minute 27. The suplex was good, but that was about all that happened.
Well, I also like, if you're following along, you know that the Tutti Frutti from Johnny B. Bad, his finisher, is a left hook.
Mm-hmm.
Max Payne uses right hand.
Okay.
That's the small shit there where I can appreciate that.
I gotcha.
So we're back from commercial again, and they're still talking about the controversial ending the U.S. title match with the ruling next week. We're really promoting that. This is the big story this week, is not only all the interviews that we missed, thanks Peacock. The U.S. title match is basically the forefront. That's the big A story tonight.
Right.
So we get into our last tag match of the night, but we still got 4 matches to go. Excuse me, no, 3 matches to go, pardon me. No, 4 counting if you want to count the workout as a match.
Mm-hmm.
We get Tex Slazenger, Shanghai Pierce versus Eric Watts and Robbie V. And we've already talked about Robbie V here on the show. He's had a couple appearances already. Future Rob Van Dam right there. That is RVD.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that until this match, and then I realized, oh yeah.
Like, you can tell just by looking at him, that's RVD.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I've been a massive RVD fan since ECW. Still am. Well, he was one of my favorites. I've met, out of my top 5 ECWs, I've met one of them. I know one of them was. My top 5 is Taz, old school ECW Taz, Tommy Dreamer, RVD, Sandman, and Jerry Lynn. Yeah, there we go. It's Jerry Lynn. I've met Jerry Lynn. I've met Sandman.
Right.
I need to meet the other three yet. Anyways, honestly, when RVD was in there, Robbie V as he still was, he was good then, and I think that was. I hate to keep harping on him. He's getting a little bit better, but the match was better when RVD was in there, though.
Yeah. Watts is improving, like you said, but he's still not there.
Yeah. Like, he got on TV way too quick. He's a Nepo baby. He's 100% Nepo baby. Yeah, we've already established this. So at one point, we get Watts locking the STF, but Pierce breaks it up. And then Watts causes a very extra long ref distraction for Slazenger and Pierce to hit Robbie V with the bull rope for the win.
Yep. 7 minutes on the nose. This was good.
This was good. I like this. Once again, with the Eric Watts match, when there's more than if a tag match and there's more than one person that can go and that can teach,
right,
he's fine.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Like we showed it with the Bobby Eaton match a couple weeks ago. Bobby Eaton was good, very good. If you got somebody that can carry with him, he's not bad.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so we go into our one title match: Too Cold Scorpio versus Mr. Wonderful for the TV title, and we still got that dumb fucking rule where the TV title's only on the line for the first 10 minutes. Like, that's stupid.
I agree, it's very stupid.
But I like that they're using that, like, Orndorff's using that to his advantage because he's the heel, and to me that makes sense, though.
Right.
He's using the rules more here than the match he had against Ron Simmons for the 10 minutes.
Yeah, he's milking the clock.
Yeah. This is great back and forth. Like, once again, we like, we're both of us are big fans of Too Cold Scorpio back at this time. I love me some Paul Orndorff. I know you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I like back where Jesse was like, but they kept doing the whoop, there it is. And Jesse was like, yeah, exactly, whoop, there, what is it?
Right.
And I was like, that's fun. And I was like, yeah, exactly, that's a good question. What is it? Whoop, there it is. Okay, what is it?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I noticed right away that all of a sudden you hear the Gary Michael Capetta, he's our ring announcer. 4 minutes left with the title in play, and I'm like, it's whatever. Like, I heard 4 minutes, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then Scorpio went just for a regular cross body and damn near jumped over Orndorff.
Yeah, that was a really high crossbody.
You don't see crossbodies that high. I was like, did he almost cleared him? Like sideways.
That would have been insane if he'd actually cleared him.
Yeah. And then we get 2 minutes that Scorpio goes for a crucifix, turns it into a sunset flip, which I thought was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're down to 1 minute. And there was this weird, like, Scorpio had a sunset flip. He had this pinning combination. And it's a weird, like, I don't know what happened with the count because even Jesse and Tony talked about it. It's a weird flub up. Like, there was a count where the ref was going to count to 3, but he didn't. But was he supposed to? Like, it was really weird. It kind of took me out of it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on.
It just, like, it was somebody messed up somewhere.
Yeah.
So Scorpio shoved the ref out of the way. He's in the corner, and Orndorff hit him with Nux for the win. And we got a time of?
9 minutes, 21 seconds.
Yeah. Honestly, even with the stupid rule, I'd like this match. This was my match of the night.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you on that one, too.
Yeah, so Ron Simmons comes out to argue with the ref about the cheap shot. He digs in Orndorff's ass. Like, he's getting, like, elbow deep in his butthole.
Yeah, that was funny.
Pulls out the brass knuckles that were white, but apparently they were so deep down in there the way he was digging, apparently now they're brown.
Oh, my gosh.
Because he was in there deep.
Yeah, he was.
Toilet paper doesn't go that deep. And then, so Scorpio actually wins this by DQ.
Yep, Orndorff retains.
Yep. Once again, match of the night to me.
Yeah.
So basically, Scott Norton comes out. We don't get the other guy's name. Throws him around, power slam. Scott Norton wins.
Yeah, that only took 41 seconds.
That was about. It took us as long as the match was to tell you what happened.
Yeah.
So we get to what's been lately my favorite part of Saturday night: Flair for the gold.
Yeah, and this was gold.
And this did not disappoint because not only do you got Arn and Rick, who everybody's in kimonos with Japanese lady geishas and kimonos. By the way, apparently the Japanese ladies don't speak English because,
of course,
93 folks. And then we come out, he brings out Rick Rude, where the producer's like, yeah, former U.S. champion, Rick Rude. Rick comes out with that his WCW theme song was fucking awesome.
Oh, yes, agreed.
And he's like, first off, and this is when you realize that, you saw a couple times where Rick could speak, but when they give him minutes to go, and he can hold up to Ric Flair on the mic.
Oh, yeah.
I like showing you what I already know about what good wrestlers and the good talkers, and you're finally getting to see this with Rick Rude.
Absolutely.
You can see why I was a big fan of Rick Rude, or still am. He's no longer with us, but I'm still a big fan of Rick Rude.
I've seen what he can do, and I love it.
Wait till he actually gets into like the long matches with like names, and not just like the awesome like 75-second matches, which are awesome. But wait till you get into the Dustin Rhodes matches and the Stings and the
when they've actually got time to go and build.
Oh, and he can go. But basically, Rick Rude's like, yeah, one thing, Rick. First of all, your producer said I'm the former world champion. Obviously, I have the title, so I'm the U.S. champion now currently. And you should have told me there was kimonos around, man. I would have showed up in kimono instead of this nice suit. And Ric Flair's like, I got you, partner. Hey, Fifi, go take him out back and change him.
Yeah.
This was awesome.
It was.
And while Rick's gone, while Rude's gone, Flair talks about how he's bringing back the Four Horsemen live at Slamboree.
Right.
So, and then Rude comes back, no shirt on, he's got the suit pants with the kimono, but no shirt on, just all hair, eating the sushi, making out with one of the geishas. This was so great.
It was just amazing.
And then Rude's like, hey, I got a present for you. You know, you show me hospitality. And he's like, Ric Flair's, don't worry about it. Rude brings out another woman. He's like, here, this woman's yours.
Like, that, why? I love it.
And she was a stripper. She was a family-friendly stripper. You gotta remember, this was TBS in the early 90s. This was a family-friendly stripper. Her name was not Fifi.
Right.
What was it? Did you catch it?
I did. Fufu.
Fufu. Now Ric Flair has Fifi and Fufu. And just gobbledygook baby talk, Fifi and Fufu. I fucking love it.
Wonderful.
Once again, Flair for the golds have been, no pun intended, gold every single time.
Yeah, and this was even more gold.
This might be my favorite one so far.
Mm-hmm.
And like later on this year, you're actually going to get one that is in the Russell Crap Hall of Fame.
Ah.
Because it's that bad, but it's you know what this is.
So yeah, they're not all going to be gold all the time. Everyone's got a bad one in them.
No, but it's Russell Crap because of what happens, but it's classic. Like, you know what this is.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. This moment is so infamous, you know what it is. And you've only been watching, what, 5 years?
About 5, maybe longer.
You know what this moment is.
I'm sure once we get there, I'll remember it, but right now I don't.
Oh, you will. We get into our penultimate match. I guess I don't know if you want to call the public workout a match, which I really don't. I thought it was more of a segment.
Definitely just a segment for me.
So our ultimate match of the night is Sting going up against Big Sky, who we know is the actor Tyler Mane, who we've established was Sabretooth in the X-Men trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done a bunch of other stuff. And funny fact, he's out there with Vinny Vegas, you know, Kevin Nash, who will be in the WWF here in the next couple of months, actually.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen these two on WCW programming.
Yeah, or at least on WCW Saturday Night. I'm not sure about Worldwide and all the other ones. But fun fact is, you know, we know Kevin Nash had done his share acting. He was Super Shredder in Ninja Turtles 2.
Oh, I didn't realize that one.
Yeah, he was actually, he's Super Shredder.
Cool.
Once he gets to use at the end of part 2.
Right.
That's Kevin Nash, the Super Shredder.
Didn't know that.
And then he actually, this day, he's been in a bunch of stuff. Kevin Nash was also up for the part of Sabretooth.
Oh, cool.
But the person who got it was Tyler Mane, who was Big Sky here, his former tag partner.
Mm-hmm.
Which I just like funny moments like that. It's like just kismet. It just meets up at the right moment at the right time.
I gotcha.
Yeah, that's Tyler Mane. And this was just a real quick match. It's nice to see Sting back.
Yeah.
Once again, his WCW song at the time here, too, was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
There was no real danger for Sting. There was one moment he goes for a splash that Vinny Vegas grabs his ankle, but he was in no real danger for this.
Yeah.
He gets a quick roll-up for the win.
Yep, 2 minutes, 47 seconds. This one was another one that was just kind of there.
Yeah, you're showcasing Sting like you were showcasing Bulldog earlier.
Right, that makes sense.
We get into the last segment of the show, the public workout with Vader as he goes against 5 men. Basically, they're coming in one at a time. Mollywops the shit out of him. He's decimating him. So he gets into the ring with the third guy, power bombs him. Out comes the Bulldog. Bulldog says, workout's over.
Harley's having none of this, and he eats a suplex for his trouble.
Well, because before that, he does say, he's like, this is a public workout. And Bulldog's like, oh, public, say you? Harley's like, yeah, you're man enough to get in here. Come on in. He's like, all right. Don't let the braids fool you, brother. And then he straight up, and this is the part I didn't like. Like, I liked it, but I think you should have saved it for the pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
Vader, because does the hanging vertical suplex to Harley Race, which Harley Race wasn't a small dude.
No, he was not.
And so he's in the corner. Vader beats on him a little bit. He goes for the corner splash, and freaking Bulldog catches him.
Yikes.
Which is impressive, by the way. I'm not saying this is bad. This is fucking impressive.
Yeah, very impressive.
And then just bodies him to the floor with a power slam.
Yeah, that was great.
But here's the thing. And this is just me. Once again, what the fuck do I know about wrestling?
Mm-hmm.
You're on the go-home show before the pay-per-view. These two are incredibly strong, massive men are going for the title. How much more impressive would that be if you didn't know that was going to happen and then friggin' Bulldog just straight up bodied Vader like that?
Right. Okay, now I get what you're saying.
I wouldn't have done that the day before the pay-per-view. I would have saved that.
Now you've put it into words. Now I agree with you.
Because spoiler, that the exact same thing happens the next night.
Right, but there's no tension.
Yeah, we already know you can do it.
Right.
So, I think if you would have saved it.
Yeah, you could have gotten a huge pop out of that.
Oh yeah, there still was. Like I've seen the match. There still was, but it's just
the mystery. Can he do it?
I wouldn't have given away the friggin' prize like that right away.
I gotcha.
But yeah, so it's still cool. He still bodied friggin' Vader like nothing. Clotheslined him a few times. He pieces out. All the good guys come in, celebrate with Bulldog as it goes off the air.
All right, that's wrestling for the week. On the whole, I had a great time.
Yeah, both of them. Like I would give the just historically wise, and then the main event to Raw this week.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say they're 1A, 1B. They're about even in how they were.
Yeah, and to me, once again, I think if I'm gonna go 1A, 1B, I'm going Michaels Jannetty 1A, Scorpio Orndorff 1B.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
All right, so we got the wrestling out of the way, folks. We are going into the top 5 box office and the top 5 music for this week in wrestling. Just once again, a reminder for Slamboree, because this is happening basically the same week the next night. There's not going to be any top 5 countdowns next week. We'll still have concession stand, Tubi or not Tubi in the pay-per-view, but this segment is not for pay-per-view episodes. So do you want to go ahead with the top 5 billboards, sir?
Alrighty, we are using the Hot 100 from May 22nd, 1993. Re-entering to number 5 is Nothing But a G-Thang by Dr. Dre.
Fantastic, great song.
Number 4, down from number 3 last week, is Love Is from Beverly Hills 90210 by Vanessa Williams and Brian McKnight.
Okay.
Number 3, up from number 7 last week, is Knockin' the Boots by H-Town.
All right.
And then number 2 and number 1 remain the same. Freak Me by Silk and That's the Way Love Goes by Janet Jackson.
Well, there you go. Not a lot of movement so far.
No, not a lot.
Now we actually here do have some movement. We have a new top 5 and a new top 3.
Alrighty.
Number 5, making its debut week, making $3.8 million, is Lost in Yonkers. It's a Richard Dreyfuss movie. The summer of 1942, 2 young boys are sent to stay with their stern grandmother and their childlike aunt in Yonkers, New York. I believe this is based on a play or a book of some sort.
I'm not familiar with it.
I've heard of the name, but I'm not too familiar with it. Number 4, down from number 3, is Indecent Proposal, which is still in the top 5 6 weeks in.
Mm-hmm.
Raking in $5.5 million for a total of $85.5 million.
Wow.
Number 3 is the debut, making $7 million. Is a movie called Posse. It looks like a Western. Like, I would watch this. In 1898 Cuba, 5 Buffalo soldiers find a gold cache, desert, and return to America, where they help defend a black town from the KKK, all while trying to avoid capture by lawmen and military authorities alike.
Sounds fun.
I would watch the hell out of that movie. And then number 2 and number 1 have actually switched spots. Number 2 is Dragon the Bruce Lee Story. It made $8.1 million for a grand total of $22 million. And then number 1, which was number 2 last week, Dave, made $11.4 million for a grand total of $21.3 million.
Alrighty.
And then, I like to give you the top, highest and lowest, the highest gain theater-wise and the lowest, just so you can see how screens work. We have the new record for the highest at going an extra 1,815.8% more money this week.
Wow.
Map of the Human Heart. It's actually number 10. It was number 17 last week. It made $1.28 million for a grand total of $1.55 million.
Gotcha.
It made also most of its money in the second week because it added an extra 517 screens.
Right.
So obviously, if you're going to add a lot, the lowest drop was actually Dragging the Bruce Lee Story. It dropped 37.3%.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it still only dropped from 1 to 2.
Yeah, but it still dropped like a third of its money.
Right.
So that is going to be Dropkicks and Attractions for this week. Thank you, everybody, for coming aboard. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, yes.
You can find the podcast on Twitter at capital D and capital A Podcast 1. We are on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, Apple, Good Pods, and iHeartRadio. I got them all that time. Yes. Sir, you.
I can be found at Big Boct, BIGBOCT, on most socials. I'm most active on Twitch and Twitter. I'm working on Letterboxd. And if you want to catch me on Reddit, I use my old name, Boct1584 there.
Okay. And as for me, I'm Xander Vix everywhere. Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd myself. I need to add the couple movies I've seen so far. Yeah, so once again, thank you everybody for coming out, and we will see you next week.
See you next mission.